Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this press conference to deal with a recent piece of propaganda, a hateful piece of material that is fanning the flames of prejudice in this country. It's called Obsession: Radical Islam's War Against the West, and it's been distributed more than 28 million copies to homes across the United States, particularly in electoral swing states. We're gathered here today to voice our joint opposition to this type of propaganda being used as a political tool. Let me state first and foremost that this is a nonpartisan gathering. We are not here to support one or another of the candidates, but we are here to say that this election season should not be accompanied by the use of bigotry and a divisive tool like this DVD in order to stir up votes for any one of the candidates. So I will turn it over quickly to our distinguished coalition partners who are here with us and join us as the Coalition for Renewing American Democracy. We have first one of the coalition founders, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs of the Progressive Faith Foundation.
Good morning, everybody. It's quite a picture that we gather together for you and for the community. This is an unusual community. I wish this were so throughout this country. That the interfaith leaders, passionate people who stand together on issues that are so divisive and yet can bring us together. I especially want to welcome Stanley Scheinbaum, one of the unusual leaders in this country, and how grateful we are that he lives in this city and that his home and his heart has been a place where we have come together for decades, and Stanley has come here to join us. Within 24 hours of 9/11, Sheriff Lee Baca, understanding the nature and the hatred that could spew forth from 9/11, brought together some 70 leaders of this city, mostly Muslims, whom he had the foresight, the insight that would be threatened in this community across this country, to bring us together, leaders and leaders of the Muslim community, to confront the possible hatred. Thank God for Sheriff Baca, that he has led the way both in terms of peace in the community, but also being one of these unusual leaders who understands and grasps the gravity of the leadership in the interfaith community. In every generation, since the start of humankind, a scapegoat is needed to discredit a particular time and particular place. At one time, it was the heretics who were in opposition to government. It was then the time that witches became the scapegoats, and then communists, and then Jews. And it's quite obvious that Arabs and Muslims are the scapegoats in our society. This DVD obsession is obsessed with putting down the Muslim and Arab community. We stand here as Americans of different faiths to speak out as one on behalf of our brothers and sisters, not only about this film, but about the discredit that comes upon people of peace, especially in this country. Yes, we recognize that there is violence and there is terrorism, but it has nothing to do with the great measure of contributions that Muslims and Arabs make to this great society. We can say that the war on terror is terror itself, that castigates this community. That's why we're here, and that's why we stand as one. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. And next we have somebody who should be known to us all, actor Mike Farrell, also author of Just Call Me Mike, if I put a plug out there for his book.
As co-chair emeritus of Human Rights Watch in California, an organization started by the Honorable Stanley Scheinbaum, I'm happy to join this group and unhappy to be here on this particular occasion. I think all of us remember many years ago the book The Ugly American and what it spoke to in terms of the boorishness and ignorance that was represented by certain Americans when they traveled abroad. I think there's a perfect storm that has come upon us in our society today, and it's a perfect storm inflamed by a number of elements. One of them is an anti-intellectualism that has developed. There are many aspects of this perfect storm that have come together. Fear that has been generated by the attack on September 11th, certainly, the phenomenon of terrorism, but the fear that has been regenerated by use of political language that is not furthering American values. A war that has confused people. There are any number of things that are happening, and as Rabbi Jacobs suggested, in these kinds of circumstances, quite often scapegoats are created and used to further certain agendas. We're seeing today in our political discourse a great deal of this fear being expressed as hatred. And that, it seems to me, speaks to this ugly piece of propaganda that's being distributed for purposes that are not beneficial to our society. And we have to denounce it. We have to recognize that it's inappropriate. And we have to recognize that it feeds the fire underneath the worst aspects of this society, the ugly America. And I think we all, as Americans who care about this country, want to repudiate that ugly America and stand for the America that embraces all and recognizes the contribution of all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And now I introduce Los Angeles Sheriff Lee Baca, who of course is charged with keeping our community safe and who has been a leader in bridging the gap between the Muslim community and law enforcement so that we have joint purposes and joint goals in mind.
Well, thank you. Good morning. I'm here to say clearly that hate crime is something that concerns all law enforcement throughout the United States. When you consider that the United States has a Constitution, Bill of Rights, and that there are civil rights and human rights combined within our Constitution's guarantees, that propaganda that is put forth by some who are extremists, who want to not only defame a religion, but incite other people to discredit that religion, and then therefore act out perhaps in a violent way towards those of that religion, is a total unacceptable practice that cannot be in any way condoned. So law enforcement is vigilant throughout Southern California and throughout the United States as well to protect people and their right to practice their religion and to not have themselves discredited because of someone who hates them. And thus our message today is obviously one of the American values that we all hold dear, and that to be a true American is to be someone who abides by the law, who also has a context of judgment that does not lead to extremism, which therefore will lead to crime. And so today's message is that we want to condemn any form of incitement that would lead people into extreme behavior, that would cause them to act out violently against others, and then therefore commit crimes that they will be held accountable for. This is not the way to go about conducting a freedom of speech right. Thank you very much. Law enforcement will be vigilant, and we will arrest anyone involved in hate crime. And we certainly know what hate crime does in this county. We are the diversity capital, one of the diversity capitals of America, and we cherish our diversity, and we will protect that diversity, whether it's religious, ethnic, racial, or otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce another one of the founding members of the Coalition for Renewing American Democracy, Dr. Xandra Caden, pardon me.
Thank you very much. I just want to emphasize that this is a new coalition of interfaith and civic leaders in our community who are deeply concerned about the fact, as the sheriff just spoke, that we are one of the most diverse communities, not only in America, but in the world. And particularly at this time of economic unease and concern, anything can set something off. It's clearly a measure of terrorism's goal is to instill fear. And this film is about fear. And it's something that I think we should be proud of, the fact that we as a community have many, many times come together and stood for peace and for understanding. And the ultimate end, the way to achieve that, I think, and I think we all believe, is through understanding each other, through learning about each other, and through talking to each other. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. All right, I've got my long list of speakers here. Let's see. From the Los Angeles City Commission on Human Relations, we have Rabbi Alan Freeling.
The mandate of the city's Human Relations Commission is to improve intergroup relations and to build community. And when we contrast that mandate with the DVD that has brought us together today, there is obviously a group of people who are obsessed, not in helping us to build, but rather their obsession is to destroy. And we are here as a group of diverse individuals representing all kinds of communities to indicate to those people who, for their own self-serving purposes, have created this DVD, to let them know that they will not succeed. They may have started something which they may resent in the long run, because after all, they were hoping for destruction. They were hoping to divide us. And the fact of the matter is that that which they have produced has brought us close together and has given us an opportunity to speak to the community at large, to indicate that those people who spew hate, whether it be by crime or language, will not succeed. Because if in fact they were to be successful, they in fact would tear down the values of the United States, and we will not allow that to happen.
Thank you, Rabbi Freeling. And next we have Bishop Steve Gilliland from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Hate media, such as obsession, hurts families, it hurts individuals. Children are mocked and made fun of at school, and sometimes there's violence because the other children have seen or their parents have viewed hate media, such as obsession. Workers are estranged from other workers because they're Muslim, and people have viewed this hate material and distrust them because they're Muslim. Wonderful American Muslims. Doctors lose patience. Neighbors turn against neighbors because of hate media such as this. It hurts families. Every group standing in this room today, Christians, Jews, Muslims, Sikhs, and others represented, have felt the sting of hate media. And we stand and call upon Americans to reject this approach, to disseminate information that is full of lies and hatred. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. And finally, we have Dr. Maher Hathout from the Muslim Public Affairs Council and the Islamic Center of Southern California.
While our great firefighters are fighting the fire, I think we should fight the more dangerous and insidious fire of hate. We wish them success in their endeavors, and they will control and extinguish this fire. But this fire that's the result of hurricane hate, as we called it, needs more than firefighters. All of us should be firefighters in this endeavor. Democracy becomes healthy when citizens are aware and when they ask questions. And definitely with this piece that distributed 28 million copies. I'm not aware of anything in America, save the Bible, that distributed 28 million copies. Is not a coincidence. This is well planned. And I wish that all of us as citizens ask the legitimate question. Why? What is it serving? How is it going to fight extremism? Where the money came from? And who is benefiting from that? These are legitimate questions that we should ask. And would this hurricane damage us? No. It will go down to be a storm then will dissipate as usual, because the very fabric and the very core of the American people is good and will eventually resent this vulgarity in dealing with serious issues. Thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you, Dr. Attu. The last thing that I want to share before we open it up for questions is that this group of coalition members has come together to issue a joint statement, which I've distributed to all of you, and which will be, which is available on the Muslim Public Affairs Council website, and will shortly be available on other interfaith websites as well. I won't read the full statement, but I do want to share with you who some of those signatories are. And there are nearly 24 that have come together in the last few days. Everyone who stands behind me is on this statement, representing the Sheriff's Department, the Muslim community, the Christian and Jewish communities, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Religious Society of Friends, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Asian Pacific American Legal Center, and the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, as well as I'm seeing who else I've left out, the California Sikh Council and the Southern California Ecumenical Council. So this coalition that you see in front of you is not just interfaith driven. It is civic driven as well. It represents a coming together of law enforcement, of civic activists, of our city's leaders, as well as our interfaith community leaders. And we believe that our voices coming together can have an effect on all of our communities. And it's a huge representation of the kind of goodwill that we seek to represent. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. If you have questions, please let us know if you'd like to direct them to anyone in particular. We have answered every question. It has all been taken care of.
Preemptive answer.
Exactly. I thank you all for joining us, and I invite you to sign on to the statement and to share these efforts with others in your communities, and to join us as we move forward. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Have read that they have identified the Clarion Fund as the person that produced this and distributed it. So is anything going to be done about suing the Clarion Fund?
No, we are not suing anybody, because simply we believe that they have the right to speak. We have the obligation to respond. So they speak hate, we will speak love. They will speak division, we will speak unity. And no, we are not going, as far as I know, so far, there is no decision, at least of the organizations I represent. There is no decision to sue.
I'm going to, sorry, let me also have Rabbi Beliak step in? Sure. Answer that question? Sure. I know the Jews on First has done some work on this as well.
Next Monday, Jews on First will be sharing with the public a fact-based rebuttal of obsession. While I appreciate the noble sentiments of the people here, I think we do need to know who is behind the Clarion Fund, and because of the way that the law is written, they have about a year of anonymity before we'll be able to really know what who they are and their participation. Nevertheless, there are some important fact-based questions that we still need to ask. Obsession attempts to say certain things and to make certain kinds of claims. Those claims need to be refuted. Central of these claims is the claim made in the film that Muslims, Arabs, are in toto a continuation of the Nazi movement. That is a horrific lie. It is something that is carefully repeated over and over again in the film. It's made by scholars who I suspect were not aware of the use of the material that was being made. I suspect also that the attempt to link Hajj al-Husseini, the Mufti of Jerusalem, and to make him somehow a central figure in the extermination of Europeans, Jews, is both an exaggeration that Hitler perpetrated, and now other people have continued. And this kind of material needs to be refuted. It needs to be refuted on a factual basis and not simply on a sentimental basis. Finally, let me say about the Clarion Fund. In February of 2008, we reported on Jews on First a distribution of about 40,000 copies of Obsession. In that reporting, we suggested that there was a troubling connection between three parties that distributed that film. That is an admission by the Republican Jewish Coalition that they had paid for this mailing, the use of the nonprofit indicia of a group called Christians United for Israel, a right-wing Christian organization under the auspices of Pastor John Hagee, and a third party recommending the contents of the distribution of Obsession and a book Stand with Israel by David Brogg, the executive director of Christians United for Israel. That letter came from the former ambassador of Israel, Mr. Ayalon. And therefore we cast our eyes, at least with care and with some trepidation, in the direction of those three parties as people who were behind perhaps a very significant part of this present distribution. 28 million copies of a DVD represent an attempt to put that in the hand of every 10th or 12th American. This is no longer a discussion about Muslims. This whole enterprise becomes the responsibility of Christians and Jews and other religious people to stand in their pulpits to educate and refute these claims.
Can I get your name on camera?
May I have
website? Tell them how to get find
Don't
the
you
website.
think that...
Hold on. I'm sorry. I just state your name for the...
Rabbi Chaim Dov Belyak. I work with www.jewsonfirst.org.
You have a short follow-up video on...
Yeah, and then we'll...
Don't you think that this act of distributing this DVD at this time, it is like tampering in our elections and trying to influence our elections?
I think that the distribution, which began on September 13th and at least formally concluded this last Friday, will have echoes in this society for a very, very long time. The timing, of course, points to our present election, where there has been innuendo and rumor about one of the candidates who has been caught in a double bind, the double bind being that he has to deny his Muslim heritage, at the same time that he is not allowed to freely embrace his religious heritage as a Christian. This has been, I think, a very clever attempt to cast in the minds of people who are uninformed further suspicion on that candidate and on the election. But remember, like other things from the media, the Passion of the Christ, Obsession, these things have now entered the American civil bloodstream. And so the need to respond to hate will continue. Last Monday, the same group that made Obsession unveiled another movie that is called The Third Jihad. It is an attempt to repeat in a much slicker and much more pernicious way the same arguments made in Obsession. And what this suggests to me is that people who are what we have always called the merchants of hate have entered our society, and that we will for a very, very long time be involved in rebutting, correcting the record, and defending those people who are defamed.
Gina, shall I follow up just a very short? About Obsession, it is the other face of the coin of the protocols of the elders of Zion.
Yes.
We just remove Jews, put Muslims, and it is a reproduction, actually, a sequel. About the rebutting, I'm glad that you are doing what you're doing. Impact has a research paper that I hope will be available to all of you. I know that CARE issued also a rebuttal, and so many organizations. I hope if we can gather all this material to be available to the minds that have some fairness and curiosity, that want to hear the other side of the story.
All right. Again, thank you everyone for joining us, and I think we'll end it there. If you have any questions for specific speakers, they'll be here for a minute or two. And thank you again. Have a great day.